And here's Hayden Cantrelle, Miami Marlins infielder now in the Marlins organization. Last time we talked a little while back, you were in the Brewers org. Surprising, right before the beginning of the season, you get sent over to the Marlins and really got going right away, Hayden, with a couple bombs right out of the gate. And it seems like you're settling in nicely with your new digs. Congratulations on a good start. And thanks for taking the time to hop on, Hayden.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. Happy to be here.
So take me through that. I know we probably got to start there, right? There's a lot I want to get into with you, switch hitter, speedy guy, big time YouTube channel, a lot of things for us to touch on, but the human aspect of it all, right? I mean, you are drafted by the Brewers. You really only play 1 year there, and then you get a reminder of the business side of it, right? And you always see the big leaguers across, or professionals across every sport. They say, oh, it's a business. It's a business. And, you hear it, but you don't really experience it until you experience it. And you did. And how was that whole, you put out a YouTube video on it too, that did really well, but just one-on-one, I guess here, even though people are listening, what was the emotions of that all?
Yeah. So, that day started, actually woke up and I was like, oh, it's first exhibition. I'll actually get a test run on the vlog. I woke up with me and Corey woke up, got our vibes going, and we were fired up. Me and him both were like, all right, we're gonna play somebody else in the uniform, whatever, blah blah blah. Well, as the day goes on, we end up heading to the field. As we get to the field, we start playing catch, and right as we start playing catch, he says, all right, we got to meet up. And then literally when when that happens in pro ball, like somebody's getting moved, something just happened. So this is my first time I've seen it like firsthand, I guess, on the field in this way. But Corey got traded to the Padres first. And so as that day started, I was like, dang, like we were just about to play catch, and now he's just going to go pack up the apartment because we were in the apartment together. And then we keep going through batting practice. I go through my whole workout, pre-batting practice, ground balls, batting practice. And then I'm getting a little lift in. I'm doing my own little workout in the weight room. And then our trainer says, hey, Mike, he wants to go see you. And I'm like, dang, like, that's kind of scary. As a player, you're like, I got released, or like, you always think the worst because you got to prepare yourself, whatever. So I walk in there and he goes, bad news for us, good news for you. And I'm thinking, he says, you just got traded to the Marlins. And I was like, wow. So I cleaned out my locker right there. I had barely even moved in. But me and Corey ended up, we packed up our apartment, and we actually got to watch the team that night. But as far as like the first-hand reactions, like you're not sure what to think necessarily, because I didn't even know the details. I didn't know who it was for. If I was going to Pensacola, what team I was going to be going to. So it's a lot of that, but you also just got to just wait by your phone. It's kind of like during like COVID, like during like the spring training thing, like you're waiting to see if you can get a spring training text. Like that's literally what that little timing period was. They're like, oh, so what time do you leave? I'm like, I don't know.
No idea.
I'm not sure. So, but anyways, Marlins arranged to have me picked up the next morning. I got all my bags from the field. I cleaned up our apartment, me and him both. He left at 4 a.m. to go fly. And, they can't pick me up in a Suburban or whatever, but got to the field, and then we had a practice. And, I kind of like respect the game. I respect other people's space, like the way other people vibe or whatever. So when I come in, I'm not expecting to be like talking to everybody. Like I expect to just be quiet first few days, get a feel out, see but first day, everybody was just loose. I was like, oh, it's great. It's gonna be easy fit. And sure enough, there's a bunch of guys that I really enjoy being around. So, I always look at it for the better. I think no matter what the circumstance is, like your only choice is to look at it for the better. And sometimes you choose not to, but I always felt like in this instance, definitely for sure was a good example of that. I think if you always think about where you're wanted, I always say I'm appreciative of the Brewers' first opportunity to give me a start in professional ball. Hence I may have not even made it here, have not made this team, so gratitude for that. And then, now that I get to join a different group, there's different perspectives I get to learn from. So there's tons of things to be grateful for. I haven't even checked all those boxes yet, but It's definitely been a fun experience. And then, right off the bat, we got to face them opening day. So
That was going to be my next question. Like that had to be so weird, right?
yeah,
So you get traded,
almost,
and literally right after that, you're
it was
playing against the same team.
against the guys who I had faced in spring training. So like, those are the guys I was getting the season ready for. And just turns out I'm like, okay, thanks you guys for your help, but now it's like, thank y'all for your help. I got to face you before the year, but and that's fun now. So now you get to play the chess match with the guys, and then that's the fun part of the game. I think, when you prepare, and then now you got a chess match with people who know you, pretty deeply. And I've seen me play a good bit of baseball. So.
And in that first game, you rack up 3 hits, including a home run. So, I figured a little bit of that had to be, that fire, that excitement. It's not the same as like the big leagues. You're getting traded from a rival team to another. Like I'm sure a lot of those guys are your friends, but there's still that competitor in you, right? It's like you got traded from one org to another. Now you get to face them right away, and to pile together 3 hits and a home run, that had to feel pretty damn good.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm a gamer, like the way I think about it. So, but I think more importantly than anything about like that, I had the 3 hits, but I think before that, like I had the hat trick, like I hat tricked off the bat off of these guys. So, but I think it was like you said, it was all of that stuff coming into the environment. It's opening day. I'm facing my old guy. I'm facing Justin Bullock, one of my friends. And then, so that kept me locked into it. Obviously you never want to give up after like a few plate appearances, but like if you're not like super locked into like your processes, like you can let that snowball. And that's hit like in this professional level, it can snowball pretty fast because you get a lot of ABs. But I think I was feeding off the game energy the whole time. It was such a unique experience for me. That I was able to like continue to just flush like swing and misses, and like, no, get back on it. Like, give yourself another chance. And so like I think day to day more than anything, I got like a nice like epiphany of like what I need to be focusing on this season. Like keep pushing. Like you start off with a hat trick. So somebody who like leaves after the 7th inning is like, yo, he didn't have it today, but there was still at bats to be had that could change the pace of the game. So
and here I am talking about a good game, right? Like that's how crazy it is. Here I am going back to that game and telling you like, hey, that must have been nice to ball out in your first game. But yeah, right. It was the first 3 ABs. I didn't even realize that were punchies, which again, like you can mail it in, just say, I don't have it today. Or you can look at each individual AB as a
panic button too. Yeah. And the panic button is also not competing. That's also not what the competing mode is when you panic. So it's also like, nah, it's coming. Like your pitch is coming. Like you missed those. All right. You're not going to get another chance to hit them. Like the new ones are coming. So yeah.
So you're talking about your focuses and stuff like that. And you're a guy with a pretty unique skill set, right? I mean, switch hitter, you've got power, but you're also really quick and, can utilize that to your advantage as well. I mean, 3 home runs out of the gate in like your first 6 or 7 games to start the year. But you're also a guy that, can utilize that speed. I was talking about this with Greg Jones of the Rays, because he's another dude that switch hitter, really fast, can run into the baseball and hit home runs. But it's like, how do you balance that of, you don't want to be the guy that's just trying to slap the ball on the ground and run it out, because you have ability to impact the baseball. And this is a game that's driven by slugging nowadays. But at the same time, hitting's hard. And if you have an opportunity to get away and steal some base hits by, chopping one in the ground and beating it out like no one else can, that's an advantage that few guys have. How do you balance that, right? Like you want to impact, but you also, you want to be able to find that consistency too.
That's the best question in the world. And I think on a daily basis, I'm attempting to answer that. This is my notebook. I don't show this to anybody, but this is my awareness notebook. No matter what the topic of awareness needs to be, whether it's a movement based, like am I going to work out? Like what's my plan? Or am I going grocery shopping? Or how do I need to edit this video? Or how am I approaching pitchers? So like you brought up a good point. Like this game is driven by slug, but you mentioned Greg Jones, who I'm fascinated to watch play. Big Greg Jones fan for the same reasons, but I want to see how he's successful. Greg Jones slugs. So like, but I don't think he has as much of an air rate as me, but that's where I learned from watching Greg Jones. And this is where I'm also at with the game very much as a hitter. So it's like, I'm like certain ballparks we play in the Southern League. So like you can't go dead center in Biloxi like you can go dead center in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Even though they may have like the same dimensions or whatever, the ball is not playing the same. So I think I think what the league forces you to do, and is on a daily basis, is it makes you answer yourself like, can I drive the ball out to this section of the field today with my A swing? So like more things than not, like I know I can't beat a wind in and go on oppo left-handed on the oppo gap. So, but it doesn't mean I can't hit a double because no one else gets out the box like I do.
Yeah.
So if people like would say is like, oh, it's like exit velo is going to be correlative to slugging percentage and OPS. And Greg Jones is an example of not necessarily. Greg Jones base hit is slug. Like he's getting two. He's fast, getting there. So I think the measure of knowing that you have that in the bag, you need to always you just don't give it up. But I work the opposite way in the game. So I train like almost like a hit and run approach in pregame. Like, and I usually don't give away my nuggets, but that is a nugget. But I train that approach in like up and in where I'm like handcuffed and I want to be able to still hit it hard, low and away. But that also has to do with being a switch hitter. So I brought up my notebook for awareness. So I have to know like how efficient one side is moving. And switch hitters, even the ones who can't explain it, they know like their own awareness, like I'm not getting to this one today, or because of this, or I'm not feeling quick here. So I have to do drills to make me feel quick in this lane. You know what I mean? So for me, it has a lot to do with right hand dominance and right leg dominance too. So as a switch hitter, hitting left-handed, I'm right-hand dominant and I'm right leg dominant. So all of my pregame work when I'm about to face a righty is going to be getting the left side ready to go. But I need it to work on top. And I think that's why you see a lot of goats when you watch like Pujols and you watch Miggy and Bonds talk. They're all throw on the same side they hit. Juan Soto, like all the goats, like Mike Trout, they all hit and throw on the same side. So what we have to compensate for, I feel like the most of switch hitters is making sure the left team can compete. But you do that with your pregame work. And then what I like to do is when I go in the box, I'm on the dance floor. So it's like, it's a dance off between me and the pitcher. Like if I'm panicky, like obviously I'm not dancing good. Like I'm not going to be able to get my barrel to what I want to get my barrel to.
Yeah.
And he can also dance on me too. But the same thing goes back to slug and not slug. Like for me, balls in play are slug because of the swing I've designed and worked on my entire life, and my instincts are explosive. So for me, it's about like hold on, Hayden, like hold myself back. Don't jump. It's coming to you. So
that's
like,
what I was going to say. Like how much picking your spots, right? Like
it could be that, but you also like going into that too. I'm glad you said that, but it also jogs what kind of arm is on the mound. So it's like, I got a guy who's like high spin rate and he's pounding my up and away black. Like, so I'm either going to make a box adjustment to cover that pitch better. I'm going to move up on the plate. Just depending on how the four seam's playing, like if guys got late life, I'm either trying to cut it off early or I'm going to ride with his depth. So like there's both of those, but I also know too, singles are going to get me in scoring position. And the way I hit the ball, I'm going to get lift. So for me, I don't have to think about bomb because the second the pitch trickles on too much white, my instincts are primarily telling me to hit it off the scoreboard. So like that mechanism is also trained too. So maybe it's like you save 3 swings or the last 2 swings of every round, you let the beast out. And then the whole time before that, like you're taking like a round of 6. Now I'm just trying to clean it up, stay clean. And then you'll get back on it. But also at the same time too, I'm a plate discipline guy.
Yeah.
Like I pride myself on being the best. I'm talking about the best. I want to be the best. And when that pitch is a ball, I take the pitch. When that pitch is a strike, I'm swinging. And then what I also do on top of that is I've played this game for a long time. So I let my instincts of my breaks. No. But I always tell myself I'm going because I know I can stop it.
Mm-hmm.
That's also part of it too, though. Guys are so much around the zone with good stuff. The mechanism of go has to always be in there. And then whenever you're facing like a slower arm, you're like trying to like hesitantly wait before you're saying, okay, yes. So you try to like not be out in front of the guys who touch slow and the guys who always are getting above barrels and blowing you away. You're like, I'm always going to be on top of those guys out in front on his heater. You know what I mean? And then like every day, like you get in the cage and you're like, it's quicker. But that's not something you're focusing on. You just feel it. So instead of like, oh, I need to make this mechanic fix, like for me, I can prop up my phone and I'll be like, yeah, okay, I see it. One simple fix, but sometimes it's just about like breathe. And then I watch the clip I'm just breathing at. I'm like, oh, the hands get where they need to. So there's tons of like variables that factor into like game readiness and choosing a game approach. But I think if you have the two strike approach that allows you, like I said, have the Greg Jones skill set to turn a single into a double in any part of the gap. Like if you have that in the bag, you can always use that as like your contact swing on MLB The Show with two strikes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then early in the count, like you're going after what your eyes like. So I don't necessarily say pick a zone because like I kind of think about that a little bit differently. So like orientation of where I'm at on home plate, I know home plate. I know where my eyes know where home plate is, but I've never been the guy to say like, okay, I'm looking like middle in, or I'm looking up and away and I'm going to do this with it. I've always been like, if my eyes see it fat early in count, this ball is getting slapped and it's getting hit with something. So it's always go, 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 go. If my eyes don't like it, take. And then I've been fortunate my whole life that I have that synchronicity with also my plate awareness. So I like what's where I like to hit it, and I also don't like where I don't hit the ball very hard.
So you trust your almost like innate pitch rec ability rather than like, okay, it's 2-0. I just stepped out. I know this guy likes to go in with the fastball to try to recapture the strike zone, let's say. Like
Correct.
instead of picking that spot, you're a guy that's like, I know that my innate ability to recognize pitches will tell me whether I should pull the trigger here or not.
Ideally, I want to play my game. So like I've been the guy in the Cape Cod League where like I remember there's an interview with Katie Florio and she's asked me, what do you guys have on the starter tonight? We're playing the semifinal games against Bourne or something, or quarters. And we were dancing to La Chona in the locker room all day. We throwing the Frisbee and the football, like not even playing baseball. And then we got to pregame. She goes, what do you got on tonight's starter? And I'm like, we don't even know who he is. But like, I've also been that guy because when I was with the Commodores, I learned like when we got the juice, it doesn't matter. Like he's going to throw it over the white thing. Like my eyes know what it looks like when it crosses the white thing. So, but obviously when you get to pro ball, you can't be naive with that.
Yeah.
Like you have to understand spin rates and
you got to know what this guy's got, you know.
It's too good of a game now. I think maybe 5 years ago, no, that's cap. That's cap. Maybe a decade ago, you could go in there like pretty consistently because guys were just throwing the same things. Now, like they got all the design of everything. So, but that's what you got your apps for. They give you your video app. I got my awareness notebook, and then you profile the arm, and then you know like, okay, this one's never gonna be there. But that's what it is to me though. It's not like, oh, his stuff plays really good here. It's like, okay, whatever. His stuff plays really good here, but pitchers miss. They miss all the time. So it's not, the game isn't revolving around him executing. If it were that, we'd never be hits on the board. We'd never execute because they would be lighting it up, but they miss. So what our job is, or I feel like mine is if I'm locked into a home plate, pregame, I visualize what I can see myself doing on the arm. Sometimes there are realistic days where I'm like, I do not see myself getting lift on this arm today. So I'm going to like hit and run approach, or I'm going to get in that short man or whatever that little cue is, whatever's got to get me there to be comfortable. And then once I work into the game, as game flow goes, I try to just ride game flow. So as game, like, it's like for me, like strikeouts don't beat me up because I'm like even keel. Like you can't piss me off. But like I will ride a cat base hit even. I will let that gas me up, and I'll let a double gas me up, and I'll let a home run gas me up. And then you'll see like I'll let that game flow take the beast out of me in that way. But there's some arms where like some days, like maybe on a Sunday, like I really love playing on Sundays because it's day games. I love it, whatever. I'll walk out there and I am swagging. Like for whatever reason, the pitcher goes to his windup and I got the rhythm already. So I just ride that. And then as I need to pull back the reins, I know I need to measure back to. But it always goes back to what I can see myself doing on the pitcher. So if that is low and hard, or if this is like, hey, this is a realistic guy, when I get him boxed up, if I stay in the gaps, I got a bump. Like I got slugged. Like I did my job.
It's funny because I was going to ask you that specifically, that a lot of times this year, you know, and again, like you do a great job of being able to impact the game even when you're not picking up hits, right? You're walking, you're stealing bags, you're getting in scoring position, you're playing good D, your speed's kind of making its way out there too. But what I noticed is a lot of your games so far, you've already had 3 multi-hit games, 2 3-hit games this year. So it seems like in the early going, they kind of came in bunches. So that kind of backs up what you were saying, how like when you're feeling it, you're feeling it. How do you talk about not really letting the negatives get to you? How do you manage that still though, in a way that it's like, okay, I don't have it today. This pitcher's harder to pick up. This is a freaking hard league. Double A is nuts, especially now. Like the talent.
Yeah.
I was talking to your teammate, Griffin Conine's dad, about this. Jeff Conine was talking about it. He's like, the stuff that these guys are seeing in Double A, bro, I never saw that in the minors. Come on, like he never saw that. Like you were saying, 10 years ago, it was different. I mean, how do you manage that? You go through an 0 for 12 stretch without maybe changing much, because that's the struggle with baseball, right? Is just because you're slumping doesn't mean that something isn't working. It just means you're in a little bit of a lull, but maybe you do need a tweak. Like, how do you gauge that all?
Well, there's, like I said, there's multiple factors to that, but like for me, like big flaws, I see them on video. I have my way of watching video for me, and I know where the big flaws come in. Because of that, I've had that awareness for about a good year now. So I at least know what I'm fighting mechanically, like when I watch video. So I already know what my limitations are with the bat in my hand already. So because of that, like it always comes down to like strike zone awareness first. So it's like you can't even play the game if you don't know where home plate is, I feel like. And I feel like sometimes it takes me out of the hitter mode. So I already know I'm working against that. So when I get in the games, like I feel like not letting it beat you up is just about like we're entertainers. So this is how I've had to change my perspective over the years, right? Like you go to college, you're the top dog, you get about 2 hits a night, it feels like. If you're doing what you're supposed to do in college, like you go 1 for 4 in college, you're pissed. Like that's just the way it is. Like pro ball, you're like, now I see it's like you get 5 plate appearances, and my goal has always been like I tell people what I try to do. I want to score. I want to touch home plate 4 times this game. Like I want to 4 times. So like I got 5 chances to entertain. Like this is like to go all out. Like games I don't get on base, I am not tired. Sometimes you don't even get a ground ball. So like, what did I go do out there for 9 innings? Okay, so I gotta entertain when I get on here. So I got 5 plate appearances to score home plate, and then when I don't, like, that's okay. But I've had to change that over the years because it was just like, man, we lost the game and I didn't score, and then like that would kill me. Like that would, because that wasn't the case in college. I'd always score. Like bad arms always get smashed in college. Guys who can't throw you out straight up can't throw you out in college. You know what I mean? So I think like the range of which you understand to be your chances are like sharper. But then like once the game elevates around you, you also elevate. So like that's the way I've always been too. So like when I'm around constant competition all around me, like I have no chance to second guess because I already operate in this like 5'9", 175-pound like vibe that I have to be really like, I have to be vibrating in order for me to do really well. Like I have to be.
That's your game though. Like that you're switch hitter, speedy guy who can play all over, like give you value no matter where you are in the field and what you're doing, right? Like you got to lean into that.
No choice to even sulk. So like, and I've also sucked before too. I think on top of that, like I've sucked before. Like I know what sucking feels like. I know what having bad BABIP luck feels like. So like, and no one understands that more than me. But I also can look back and see at the levels of consistency on the plate discipline. Like last year, like was a crazy year. It was one of the most crazy years of baseball I ever played, just because of just seeing the way like stuff was getting caught, like that I'm not used to seeing getting caught, or flying out a lot, and then you get punished for fouling pitches off. But I think like after seeing all that, even still, like before I got traded by the Brewers in spring training, I got like the swing decision award. It was like a trophy for the guy in the org with the best swing decision. So it's like that is the level of consistency. Like that is like, and that's what they say. It's like, how did you train that? And that's what they'd ask me sometimes, is be like, you are elite at the level of the game that's the hardest to teach. And that's not what I think of as, that's not even what my approach is as an instinctive player. But I do know I want to control that. But I'm trying to I'm trying to touch home plate, you know?
So,
So it gets tied up in there because
yeah.
you rewarded based on something that you've never been rewarded by.
Yeah.
Like growing up as a kid, that wasn't what we celebrated walks, but like we also didn't celebrate getting struck out on a pitch that was 2 balls outside and
Yeah.
you got banged on it. Like that's something that was celebrated and I was commended for it. It's like, no, good take. Don't swing at that. That's not, you're not supposed to swing at that. So, and then you leveled up in Double-A, and now they got like TrackMans in some dugouts. So like, you know, you can hold the umpires accountable. You're like, no, like we know, you know, some days you don't have it, but like umpires get better and it helps. It's good for the game. You know, I'm not a robot guy, even though the robot would help me incredibly.
Yeah.
I'm not a robot guy. I want
Me
the closest available guy you have to a robot. If the closest you have to a robot is 70%, I'm cool. Okay, fine. But I don't want the robot.
You got to figure out the new zone then. You know, you got to figure out the new zone and adapt. But I'm with you. I don't really want the robot either. It's a nuance to the game I just like.
It's the catcher. It's it's all of that. You know, it's the game. You'll just have a bunch of catch and throw guys at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people understand what that does to running game. And like, you know, it's going to revolutionize the game in a way that y'all maybe didn't intend, but y'all wanted the umpires to be better. You know, so that's what I got.
I'm with you. And so
that's the flip side of that. That's the flip side of that.
And that's the thing is, you know, I talked to some catchers, obviously some catchers that are great with framing and stuff like that. They don't want the robo umps or anything like that, but it's interesting to hear it from someone that, like you said, probably would benefit from it. And you talk about the BABIP, you know, 233 BABIP last year with your speed. It's blatantly unlucky in a lot of ways. And I think, we'll see that kind of tick up this year already. But getting on base, you were phenomenal in that department. 376 clip last year. And you talk about like the spurts of when you were really swinging it well, but also your focus, right? And that focus helped you get on base. That focus helped you be productive and overall still, you know, help your team win ball games. And how do you strike that balance as well of like, yes, you want to be the guy that scores runs. You want to be the guy that impacts the game in a bunch of different ways. But at the end of the day, when it comes to the minor leagues, the sad reality is you got to also put up individual stats and like, you know, how do you toe that? Because again, like you do a great job of getting on base. You talk about the swing decision award. You're walking a ton again this year. That takes a lot of pressure off of the hit tool in terms of like, how, like you don't have to worry about luck when you walk, right? You can square up a baseball, but the perfect freaking swing you've ever put on a ball and you're walking back to the dugout. A walk is a walk always. So like that hedges some of the issue or some of the concern that just makes baseball so hard. But how do you balance that with like, okay, I still need to, you know, pick up my hits and be that guy that starts to boost up the personal stat lines because you know you're capable of doing both. And again, it's like baseball is one big juggle of you know, kind of extremes.
Yeah. So for me, that was like it was like video related. So for me, it was like I attribute a lot of my BABIP unluck to a mechanical flaw that was happening left-handed last year predominantly, which was resulting in a ridiculous amount of like high pop-ups on like hanging curveballs and like warning track flyouts on fastballs. So as far as that's concerned, like, yes, hits is like what I've been after, but because of like it has been like the launch off my bat. Like I didn't hit a lot of balls low. Like whatever, like I hit more balls low, there's more hits. So I know that to be true. But at the same time, like the plate discipline ties into how you take in swings on pitches too. So like I'm never in the box taking a swing that's knucking me up on purpose. To my fault sometimes, because the 2 hits I had this week on I think Friday night game, I got blown up on like 94 in and then like 88-mile-an-hour slider in, but both of them got jammed and like the game rewarded that and they were low. But I think last year at that point I was having a mechanic issue that I didn't realize till this whole off season. So I tackled it and I was watching video of me in college because that's how you check yourself. But and it's all, you know, off season is time when you get to feel stuff out and make those changes. But and that's the whole idea with the hit and run approach. The hit and run approach, the idea to lower the launch off the bat. Lowering the launch off the bat, not necessarily going to mean I'm going to hit more ground balls, but it's mean I'm going to hit more balls on lines. it's also mean I may get more backspin. Like that's also the goal too. So hitting a lot of balls that didn't have probability to be hits. And then the ones who were hits, maybe I hit them too hard or too soft to give them the time. Like that's just the universe. Like I didn't earn it. That's just the way I chalk that up. So like, but the games, like I was locked in, and like there's a weekend Beloit, and I was locked in. That was 4th of July. Like the mechanics on the 4th of July, like that's what I'm after. Like, and that was an oppo, and that was a pull side. So like I know on that day, like that's where I wanted to be. Those balls weren't hit like super high or whatnot. And then also I had a base hit, on a slider. So like that's a day, for example, I can look at. And then for me, I go look at my video right-handed. And then, the thing about being a switch hitter is like, you always look back about being, I'm a right-handed person, right-legged, right-armed. So like when I watch my right-handed swing, I'm like, oh, like it needs to be like that. You know what I mean? So left hand, the off season was about attacking that left-handed. So trying to get a little bit more balls low. And so the goal of that's also going to lower my strikeout rate. So because I had that elite fly ball rate, it also had to do with my path. So barrel was entering to under the ball at a certain like fractal of pitch depth. So like I was approaching balls in a certain tunnel that weren't needed to be approached that way. So they were always resulting in like a warning track fly ball. Like
Yeah,
I hit hard enough, but also not hit like in a level where like I wanted to just like get on top and hit it down the line or something, or like hit it in the gap. So like stuck between there and a few times because of mechanic last year. I think this year now is a little bit more of identifying like I said, like by pitch location, like, and having that better feel in real time in the box, like as the pitch is, as I'm adjusting to the pitch, or as it's making the late break on the changeup. Like I need to not, like, I'm no longer trying to hit this ball in a certain location. I'm now trying to hit it somewhere else. So it's like, it's a mixture of that. And I don't know, that that's hard to explain because that happens at such an intense micro level in training. You know what I mean? But that's what you're approaching it. Like you're doing variable training with like different pitch types and different weighted balls trying to accomplish the same goal. And then and then you go into the live environment, and now you're back into the dance hall. Like you don't have time to get to all these mechanics where you're dancing. It's a dance off. And then you watch video and you reassess. But that's what allows me to stay consistent on the plate discipline side, because I understand that you can't plague yourself with the mechanic of it. Like it's in there or it's not. And then you pregame and postgame, like you can work on that. You can work on the mechanic, like, because I think like the way you sleep affects the way you walk, the way you swing and whatnot. So like if you want to go work on your swing, like whenever you're going to get feels at night, which is what I do, got bats all around this apartment, but you go get the field right. That's where you fix the mechanic that you see on video. And your only chance to fix it is whenever you watch it after you perform, which is like performance time isn't the time to do that. And even I agree. I need to get my computer charged real quick. Dang. Even to a certain point though, like I feel like you really can't even check in completely whenever you get into a cage session. Cause like at a certain point, you still need to like understand like, hey, this happens in 0.4 seconds. So like, to what degree are you really thinking here? So it's like more of like a exhale. And then like when you step in the box, like I trust myself. And I think it's reminding yourself that there's trust. That's the biggest help.
So we were just talking about this like off the air, but like something that I also think the listener can tell is like, okay, this is a really heady player who, knows himself, knows how he wants to do things. And that's extremely valuable, right? Like we're always talking about, you always hear scouts talking about makeup and those things. And like, that's important stuff. But at the same time, what you just talked about, I think is extremely important, where it's like, you got to think, you got to be thoughtful, you got to know what's going on and hold yourself accountable. But once you're in the box, you got to just trust that you prepared yourself as much as possible. At what point did you realize that? Because when I was in high school, I know like that was something I would carry my thoughts into the box sometimes. And that would kind of keep me almost like, it felt like the game would speed up on you when you're taking time to think in the box. And I mean, everyone's probably guilty of it from time to time. How do you find that balance of like, okay, I want to be thoughtful, I want to be prepared, but also once I get in that box, like I'm just playing ball and I'll worry about it after and reflect back?
I think it always had to do with like a need for accountability. Like I always felt like where I came from in high school,
we were like kind of like very strict ran in high school, like no facial hair, no like long hair at all. Like you wear uniform the right way, you take care of the field before and after games. So like I think we always had that accountability. So that was the first place. Like I tell people a lot. Like I played fun USSSA baseball among the most competitive kids in Louisiana, who basically make up all the Louisiana college baseball teams. So growing up, I was always playing for my dad against those kids. So best case scenario for a kid growing up. 13, 14, my dad stopped coaching me so I can get ready for high school. Um, and then kids started passing me up. It's like physically. So right there was like, I had this super locked in awareness about like how I need to get prepared. I'm going to hold myself accountable to push-ups and sit-ups every night. Like little stuff like that, like reading about like Herschel Walker doing all like he did like 1,000 push-ups and stuff like that. And like, he's Herschel Walker. So like, also believed in like I always believed in like the stacking of behavior over courses of days. Like I attribute a lot of that, but that had to do with accountability. So, but when I got back to high school, when I got into high school, I really like, I tell people between 13 and 14, I kind of lost my grip on baseball because I was getting passed up by these kids. I was trying to compensate like in the box because like the ball wasn't coming off my bat. I was a late blooming kid. And but when I got to high school, being in that strict program for whatever it was about like we got tested every day, like physically. Like, did you have what it takes to like? Because if you didn't, like, we were split up in like two teams. If you lost like a team challenge, you had like a penalty mile for like time when we were in high school. So we were not worried about the field performance because we trained at such an elite level, not even understanding it. We had such this trust in each other on the field. It like carried us. And we won my sophomore year. I ended up pitching the state championship as a sophomore. Like I was the guy that like, yeah, you got the ball. Like, so it was stuff like that I always had in high school. Junior year, same thing. We won the state championship. Number 4 ranked team in the country. And we were going harder than anybody, but they're accountable. So you know who's not worried about his swing? Me. I got to perform for these dogs. These dudes are nastier than me. Like, I mean, I play with kids. Like we would do like plank holds. We had like a plank hold for PE, and losing team had like a penalty mile. And these two kids, and we had like 10 minutes left in the day, and that's when our coach was like, yeah, we're going to do like a plank challenge. These two kids planked for 15 minutes, both on our teams. We were all done, and these two kids so I went to school with kids who would rip your throat out. Like, so that's what I was accountable by. And in my senior year, I was the guy who was just the best baseball player, but I played with dudes who were just nasty. So more than anything, I felt I was driven by the people on the field. College comes, same thing. I played for the guy who coached my dad. So super accountable there. Like I just have to hold up the standard. Sophomore year, same thing. Junior year, my draft year, got to hold up the standard. Indie ball, biggest change in my life. The one who's the most accountable was me. So it was there where I had to find all these behaviors about like, okay, like you got to find a way to assess the pitchers. You have to find a way to relax. Now, I don't know the original topic of what we were going after, but what pro ball really did to me though, is pro ball really forced me to like, I have to trust to be accountable to myself. Like every day, like, so that also has to do with rewarding yourself for good. And at a certain point in pro ball, I lost my touch with that because I wasn't being demanded by like my teammates. Right.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's individual to a degree, right? I mean, like you want to win ball games, but at the end of the day, everyone's just trying to make it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so like like we love winning. And to be honest, I realized when we win games, oh yeah, this was your question. I realized that when we win games, I overperform. In college, when we were just trying to win games, I was overperforming. So in pro ball, as much as I can gather guys or like, whatever, just at least recognize like, oh yeah, this guy likes winning games. Like, then I'll ride that energy with those guys. And that, like, I really build off of that. But that's where I had to realize that. I was like, I loved this game because I loved it as a game. Like, and I knew how to play it. But the second it got amplified in other areas, as far as like, you need to hit it like this. And like, also credit to that, because that's what allowed me to hit home runs. That's what let me learn that I can hit home runs. It's just like, Hayden, you can do that. And it's like, oh, but I don't, but like we're winning a lot of games and I'm just hitting doubles and singles all the time, like right in front of the outfielders, like whatever. So I went through a transition into my game because of that. And I thank the Lord for that. But because I went through that transition, I also realized like you got to go back to your roots every day. Like every day you start up, like when you wake up out of bed, like you got to get your morning routine, like break you in. And then once you finish that, you got to remember like, you're doing the same, like get back to what you were doing. So like, it's a constant reminder, because you're reminded by nothing but it, in the media, if you look at it. And like me, I'm on YouTube. I'm also trying to start like a media platform for like, some of my friends, and like with the Five Guy brand and stuff like that. So I'm in it. Like I'm in what all of the fascination is with numbers and whatnot. I'm constantly reminded by it. But at the same time, I always have to tell myself, like, you get back to what you learned the game how to do. Like you came through as a kid playing the game just to win. And that's how you learn that, hey, when you go oppo with the barrel like that, it's a hit. Like, and like, you don't have to go deep right here. Like, so it's like going back to your roots and then training strengths to grow every day. Because like I said, you want to continue to stack habits that can build for you over time. So like I'm 23 right now. By 33, I want my skill sets to all have been evolved. I want my arm to be better. I want to run better, more efficiently. Even though I've been safe my entire playing career, pro ball included, I want to be healthy and eligible for every time my coach wants to start me on the field.
Yeah.
And if he wants to play me for 9 innings, I want to be able to say, yep, I got it. And that's what I train for every day, because that is my why. In high school, there was no Hayden. You failed your test. Lunch sucked. You're feeling sick, but you got the ball. Go give us 5 innings. Like in high school, that was non-negotiable.
Yeah.
It was non-negotiable. College, non-negotiable. I started and played every game. Non-negotiable. I knew it. My mind was prepared for it. So like pro ball, like you sit more, and it sucks, but like it's another skill you got to learn. So like you learn more about your game day routine. It's like, oh, so it's like, even when I'm not on my game day routine, I can do this and I can choose not to do this. But I find myself doing my game day routine every single day, because I'm like, that's what gets me rooted. No matter if I enjoy it or not, I have to get rooted, whatever that is. And that's what it is. And so I have to continue to come back to that, and then bust my butt in the weight room with new things that I learned. So at the same time, as much as you're trying to stay rooted, you're like, receive the information relevant, use it. And if you can't use all of it at one time, pick little pieces at a time. It's like, all right, you got to work on this with your left leg. You got to work on this with your, however way I break up my body in slow motion at night and just dissect myself. When I wake up in the morning, I know the plan. So it's pretty much rinse and repeat process, especially when you get to the pro level. But in college, I never had that. The accountability was already there for me. The routines, when you get to the field, were set. You didn't choose any of it. I go to the cage now and I pick what I want to go do when I got a bat in my hand.
Yeah. And it's kind of up to you. That's the thing too, is like a lot of guys, you don't have that push at your back anymore, right? It's got to come from within. And also, like, again, when you're in college, you have this hunger to win, and you're pushing your teammates and everything. No one's going to come and say, Hayden, we want to win these games and you need to step it up as much as you probably got in college, I'd assume, right? Like, again, people want to win, but no one's going to tell you how to do your job. You're a pro now. And Correct. If you're not doing it right, again, the accountability comes from within. Off that point, you go to Pensacola now, a lot of new guys. I mean, Biloxi was extremely talented. Some guys that I love to watch play over there. Joey Weimer, for one. He was a guest of the show. That guy.
I'd watch him get at bats. I really would.
I get such a kick out of talking to that guy, because he simplifies it so much, and in his head. At the plate, it's the most complicated thing I've ever seen in my life, but it works so easily.
But that's how you understand it. Like that is the eliteness of it, is the simplicity. That is the eliteness. My problem is I've already made it so dynamic. Now I'm just trying to straighten up everything I've made dynamic. Yeah. But when you got it like that, there is no other, you can go live your life. You can go focus on other things off the field, and like, that's the beauty of that.
Oh, love it. And he's going to be a stud. I mean, I'm all in on Joey Weimer, but big gamer. And you go to, and a guy like yourself as well, that he prides himself not on just what he does in the box, like what he does in the field, what he does on the base paths. Like, that's all stuff he prides himself on too. But you go to a new environment now in Pensacola, a lot of new players. I know I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of those guys, and a lot of really good dudes there. But you talked about like the new environment. You didn't want to, be too overbearing. No one wants to be that annoying new guy. But you seem to get acclimated pretty quickly, both on the field and off the field. Can you talk a little bit about just that adjustment with your new teammates and, like what's been the best part so far and, just that whole acclimation process?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big respect guy. So like, I like you like for me, I always know when I like walk up on you, like I already know what it's going to be for the most part. So like, first thing I wanted to do when I got here is I wanted to show everybody respect. Like that was my job. I felt like I'm new here. My job is to be the first guy to be like, hey bro, like I want to come across peacefully, whatever, and then I think that's where you start from most of your relationships. I always try to, I always want to be the guy where it's like, you're going to remember your first impression of me because you may not see me again, or we may not have another conversation. That's just the way pro locker rooms are. It has nothing to do with it being personal or not. It's just the amount of space guys have. Like I also learned too in pro ball, like the amount of span you may be having a day varies. Like you show up to the field and some days you need to feed off of the energy of the chemistry in the room.
Yep.
And that's what you gravitate towards on those days. Some days you've been grinding. You go to your locker, Hayden, I got to put my headphones on. I got to put my Canada dip in, and I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go get my mind right. I'm not there right now. I got to go get right. So like some days that's the vibe. So yeah. I think before anything, I wanted to show everybody, especially the guys around me in my lockers, because those are the guys I talked to first. Bubba Hollins, Zach McCambley, both guys.
Both the guys. Two of my favorite guys
so
right there.
So fortunate. And Will Stewart's my roommate. We're like this. And that's the way it is. I think when you come across respect, and then, that's just my job and that's all I did. And then they did nothing but more than that. Those guys were so like, hey man, if you need this, oh man, you need a ride, or, and that's how it starts. It's little things with us, because it's business for us. When you get on the field, like at this point, the way we view it is business. So we don't really look at each other as baseball players more than not, because we try to evolve. Like most of our conversations, try them to not be about ball. Like,
yeah, facts.
For me, sometimes I can't help it. That's just the way it is. Sometimes I'm so curious. I have to ask. Like I'm asking pitchers what their fastball grips are, because I always like learning about throwing or whatever like that, how guys are throwing their changeups and why. So I think it's like that, but I think we all started from respect at first, and then, the vibe has been great. I think all the infielders, Kobe, Luis, Ray, Troy, Encarnacion, sometimes when he plays first, Paul, JD, Xavi, those guys I'm around the infield a lot, and it's always good vibes. And then all the outfielders, Griffin, obviously good friends. Oh, Bubba, I didn't say Bubba.
Yeah.
You got Victor Mesa. But yeah, like all those guys, like we all have our own little, like, it may not be a lot every day, but like a what's up, or like while we're both in our routines crossing each other, sometimes it's only that. But when you're in a group where people are like what you do, or like some guys ask me questions about my weird routine, my workout routine. I don't really talk too much about it, just because it's kind of like, it's just mine, it's just what I do. So I don't really like harp on it too much, but guys ask questions and I can't wait to explain it to them. It's cool. So, not only that, we're good friends and whatever, we'll play like Super Smash Bros on our Switch, but it's also the guys too, where I can ask them about a game, or like, hey, what'd you see here? And then, I know who those guys are, I can ask, and they'll give me feedback. And that's what I like, cause I'm a nerd. I've been a baseball nerd my whole life. I don't want these guys to know that I would love to pound them about baseball 24/7, or about the way they think about in the box, or, cause that's what's sharpened mine,
Well, I would say we talked about it before. I know Griff will go pound for pound with you on that. And you guys can probably talk hitting for hours.
And then, you find yourself too, that's a cool part about the pro dynamic. Like the more you find yourself talking to like the different minds, you either like gravitate towards yours, or you learn something.
Yeah.
And when you learn something, you always have a choice. And that's the cool part about that. Like you always have a choice to absorb it and use it, or ignore it and not use it. But, and I think that's the cool part about what we do. It's like guys do this, and I'm like, oh, I know I definitely don't want to do that.
Yeah. That's not that ain't for me, but I appreciate that. Yeah. So take it a step further here, you know, you don't get to really appreciate, you know, some teammates and the talent of a lot of people until you play with them. In this instance, you probably would have appreciated it if you didn't get traded, but you got to appreciate it, fortunately, by playing behind him. I got to ask you about the Yuri Perez performance the other day. He's 19 freaking years old, man. Like he's a kid out there. He's 6'8". The 5 innings, 12 Ks against Biloxi. I mean, it must have been nice knowing that you're not on that side of it anymore. Because when that kid's shoving, he's shoving. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how Yuri looked the other day, because he's quickly becoming one of the most exciting pitching prospects in baseball.
Yeah, Nino, I think what I like about him is he's loose. I think he's loose off the field before it starts. I think when he just operates in that realm, that he for me, he doesn't seem like a guy that needs to become overly absorbed. He's just so, his stuff is so good, and when he lets it play, it's so crafty. Like guys can't get on plane with it.
Isn't it crazy that you're using the word crafty though for a 6'8", 19-year-old who throws 96 to 98, and that's what he is though. He's crafty.
It's arty. You know what I mean? Like there's no, like, if I'm in the box, like that's how I'm telling you as a hitter. Like
he's got feel. He's backdooring guys. He's got it like that.
Mm-hmm. And then it's like the late movement without having to force it. You know what I mean? So like that's when guys are, well, I got arms don't. Well, I just don't tell them, but pitchers don't necessarily understand all the time. Like, yo, pitches with good stuff, hard to hit. Period. Yeah. Hard to hit. Period. Because we don't even know what speed you're starting at right now. Yeah. We don't know. Like that's our game. Our game is to pick yours out. Like, so like, but when guy stuff works, like it has a chance to work. And so like guy like Yuri's like, yo, don't walk guys.
Yeah,
like,
just go after him.
Only thing, like that's what I got. So when I'm in the box, I'm like, you know, like my approach, right? So like I'm facing Yuri Perez, like what's first and foremost for me, zone control. It's like, okay. Or it's like Corbin Burns, like you're facing Corbin Burns, like he doesn't walk guys. So like, you know, that's the staple. So like when the guys know he's not walking guys, it's like, dang, he's going to be on here and I'm going to be missing it. Like, or it's like you watch video and it's like, man, he's making a miss on home plate. Like he's not strike to ball in him. Like he's missing. So like, that's where it gets tough too. Cause then you're trying to now you're trying to get your approach where it's like, yo, we got to get it going because we may only have 3 chances to swing this at bat. Like you might miss 2 of them. So like, you know, and that's where the approach would shift. You know, you would have like that, I got to take my chance here or I don't. Like, I know this pitch isn't one I can take a chance on. So like, and as he's going to keep pitching, like he's in a level too, where he's around, like he's facing really good. There's a bunch of good hitters, bro. That Biloxi lineup is salty and like diced them up. So, you know, for him, he's just going to keep building that confidence, I believe, as he continues to pitch. And like, I think you'll continue to see that for some years. That's me.
It's got, and I'm with you, bro. I see the same thing, and it's cool to hear it from somebody like yourself now that's, you know, been on the other side, maybe not faced him, but still, you know, I've gotten an idea of pitchers like him, if there's anyone even remotely close to it, and then playing behind it. I want to give you like one last little chance too, because I want to hear a little bit about the YouTube side, because obviously we do at Just Baseball a lot on the multimedia side. YouTube has been one of our latest, you know, things that we've been really excited to ramp up. So I've got a different level of appreciation for what you've got going on there. I mean, you're a professional baseball player. You got a lot on your plate, but you still find time to carve out this 5-guy YouTube, which it was accumulated now 23,000 subscribers. Congratulations on that.
23, really? What? 23?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I thought it was at 22.3.
Well, you're at 23 now.
Thank you very much.
And you're killing it on that. We were joking before we started the you know, getting traded. Great clickbait. Like it was a great headline to get people to watch it. It was an awesome video, by the way. I really enjoyed it. But anytime someone sees I got traded, I'm like, I got to watch that. So, and it was crazy because you were unsuspecting leading into it. And then like you have it the whole day captured, which was wild. But what inspired you to create the YouTube in the midst of your baseball career? And, you know, at what point did you realize like, hey, this could actually be a pretty successful, you know, little side venture for me?
I think it had a lot to do with kind of how, like what my dad did, I think, growing up, because I was always fascinated by the skill of just in general putting a project together. I think like project management is like one of the more unique things you can do. My dad was a broadcaster, He had a broadcast degree. He doesn't do it anymore. But I remember when I was young, like he would always do the UL baseball games on TV as a color commentator. So there were certain days where I was allowed to go in the booth and I watched him prepare a script. I'd watch him deliver an entry with confidence. And he spoke about a game that he knew. So he was speaking about baseball, and my dad very articulate. So from there, I learned of like creative skills. So I enjoyed that. And then I think when I was growing up, like we grew up with the digital age. Like people don't understand, like our generation, we grew up pre and with and post, you could say. So like some of my friends don't do it anymore because they know technology. Like obviously most of 99% of us do, but like we're part of the age group that's experienced both, like pre the boom and then all of that. So I was the kid that I would go on YouTube and I wanted to learn about pro baseball and learn about college baseball. And like we were blessed, like we learned I knew how to type in words on the internet to find stories. I knew how to type in player information, heights, where they come from, training videos. I wanted like that content, like literally, like, you know, people would say like, oh man, I love the content you put out. You know, and that's how it started. So it started about me giving my perspective on what I thought we were doing. And, you know, honestly, I was humbled by what I was doing. So I loved sharing it. I enjoyed connecting over a sport. And it was just my articulation of the sport that I play and as I do it. And as it's evolved, you know, I think at certain phases, it's been about getting more subscribers and it's been about selling merch. But it's evolved for me. It's no longer about that. It's when I go back and look at my what do you call it? My library. When I go look at my all the videos I made, I want it to remind me of the time period. So that's why I make them now. So I no longer make them for that reason, because it is art. So regardless of how it's interpreted, like that's how I want to remember the video. So when people watch it, they're always getting like or for me, it's always like oh, you were doing this back then. Like I may say something that like talks about we went eat dinner, and then there's a side story for me that I can remember about that. Like that's why I make the vlogs. Like, oh, when we were in this city, we did that. So and then now it's about consistency, and it's an out for me because it's one of my other skills. My sisters are artistically talented with paint and pencils. I am not. I can visualize it though. I can see things, and that's why YouTube is my craft, so to say. But I enjoy putting together those projects because, you know, it's just like anything, once you get the flow of something, it's so addicting. Like podcasting is a flow. When you get in that podcast flow, it's good. When I'm editing and exporting, it's the best, you know? And for me, when it's like all things are connected, right? So for me, fortunately and unfortunately, my vlog content is related to my job. So like there is some difficulties as far as like content production. So like there's some things where I'm disgusted about and I'm like, I don't want to look back and remember this about this time. And then there's also times where I have that same content and be like, I need to show them this. I need to put the hat trick in the vlog. I gotta put the 0 for 5 in the vlog because it is me. Because at the same time, like, how did I handle that? Like, and every time I want it to be a good example.
Yeah, it's what you're going through. Like it's what you're dealing with, right? Like, and that's what I appreciate about that is, you know, that's kind of where we got away from everything in social media, which is like it's only the highlights, right? It's only the best parts. It's only the positives, and I think that's part of the reason why social, you know, has some of those negative connotations and things like that. But when you have something like a vlog, it's like this is the ups, this is the downs, this is everything in between. And you know, there's no BS in this or hiding anything. Like this is what it is. And I think that authenticity really resonates with your audience, man, because I see those days in the life are probably some of your most successful videos. And, you know, that's just a day in the life, right? Like that's just showing people what you're doing, how you're doing it, and what you're experiencing and how you're experiencing it. And that's the most popular thing. So that kind of tells you everything you need to know right there. What's next on the Five Guy YouTube for people to look out for? I figure give you a chance to plug up real quick before we jump.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I actually have I'm actually working on a project today. Today's my off day. We banged the beach today. We decided we weren't gonna go melt in the sun again today, so we're gonna call it inside. Knocked out the pod with my boy Aram. For the plug, bro. But we'll be working on another day in the life. It's gonna be compilation.
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm gonna have some videos from Huntsville. I'm gonna throw in some at bats there. I had some good right-handed clips, so I haven't shared some right-handed clips on there. So I'll be putting some live game footage from Huntsville, our trip to Biloxi. I got to see my dog. My dog and my girlfriend got to visit me, and my grandparents got to visit me this week. So we got to play on the beach, got to vlog some of that. So
awesome.
Some of that content. I didn't get any content with Joey Weimer. We're not really allowed to do that on the field. So I'm not sure how that'll evolve in the next 10 years, but we'll see. But that's where I'm at. And then that vlog will be coming out. I can't promise it'll be out today, but hey, if it gets done today, maybe out today.
Hey, well, if you subscribe to the Five Guy channel, you'll know when it's put out there. So
yeah, that's right.
That easy.
It's free.
It's easy. Free. It's free to subscribe. And so we will be doing, Jack, my co-host, and I will be heading out to Pensacola at the end of the month. So I know we'll be shooting some stuff out there. So we'll be excited to do something.
Run it back.
Oh, we'll run it back. But in person. So you don't have to sit in the closet. And I won't be in my apartment in New York. We can run it back in person. Maybe we can get in the cage a little bit. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? We haven't done, you don't do interviews in person anymore. Like, I can't wait for that because I'm really excited to get out there to Pensacola, hang out with you guys, talk to you guys. But also, bro, like, I'd love to get in the cage with you and like, let's go through stuff. Like, let's talk about what you're doing and stuff like that. So a few weeks we'll be out there, really excited to do that, and we can run it back, but very excited to watch the next day in the life. And then maybe by the next one, I'll be watching you behind the scenes on the day in the life. Maybe we'll even get a cameo in there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. Again, appreciate you taking the time to do this, because I know it's been a wild couple weeks for you. Glad you've kind of settled back in now. You're comfortable back in Pensacola, and I mean, it's a good group of guys. It's a talented team. And I could see you, really starting to settle in there in the box. It's a ton of fun to watch you play. Excited to follow along. And, next time we run this back, we'll be in person, and we'll have some cool content to build off of this, man.
Always, man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Best of luck until I see you next.
Sounds good.